stories now for almost a month. And the more I read your stories, the more I realize that your stories have power. They have the power to change people's lives because they are about your lives. And so when people read them, they say, that could be me. And they realize that your characters are dealing with some pretty tough things that they work through and ultimately figure out a way to help other people. That's the social action part. I'm going to read to you the latest bit of my story. As I read it to you, I want you to think in your head whether or not you experience thoughts, action, dialogue, or description as I read it to you, okay? So, Carly, will you turn off one of the lights, please? Here we go. Now, you remember that I left off like this, that there was this part where there was a conversation between Ted and his dad, and then the phone rings. And then the mom says, just ask him about this little trip to the gas station when he was hanging out at his cousin Mel's house last night. And then I thought, should I continue writing that chronologically, like kind of like what would happen next in the story? And I thought, maybe not, because I realized that as a writer, I don't necessarily write in order. Like, I don't necessarily write from start to finish. Sometimes I write the ending, or I write like just an important part. And this is an important part. I'll read it to you and then we'll talk. The room was full of moms and dads with long, tired faces and stressed, bloodshot eyes. Ted's mom gave him a sideways glance and noticed as he scanned the room, drew a deep breath, and then exhaled slowly. The Partners in Caring Conference, or PCC, was an annual gathering of parents and guardians, social workers and psychologists who all lived or worked with kids who have behavior and mood disorders. Ted and his parents were presenting a session called Living with Childhood Bipolar Disorder. Are you ready for this, bud? She asked him. Yes, came the whispered, squeaky reply. Ted had reluctantly agreed to be at the conference, especially since he would be the youngest person in the room by far. The conversation a week prior with his dad was what convinced him. Ted, I want you to know that some of the most amazing people in history have had bipolar disorder. Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, Robin Williams, Catherine Zeta-Jones, the list goes on and on. Listen carefully. When you think about BPD as a gift and not as a problem, you realize that your experience is something to be shared. Your story can give hope to other kids who have bipolar disorder, especially kids who are feeling stranded, isolated. You can throw them a lifeline just by telling them a story. A lifeline, Ted muttered. The three of them decided that Ted should tell his story first as a way of beginning their session. Hi, my name is Ted. I have had bipolar disorder my whole life. So that's as far as I got, and I wanted to share that with you because, as I just said a moment ago, I wanted you to think about where there are examples of thoughts, action, dialogue, and description, because as we know, this is what makes for good writing. Any kind of narrative writing. Small moments, fiction, realistic fiction, whatever it is. Mysteries, fantasies. If you have dialogue like here and here, are you ready for this, bud? She asked him. Yeah. That's the kind of dialogue that makes a reader say, hey, that's pretty real, because you know what, when my mom asked me a question like that, that's how I sounded when I was nervous. Okay, that's an example. Carly, get the light, one light, will you? So then, the whole idea here, though, is in addition to showing you examples of thoughts, action, dialogue, and description, which we've been talking about all along, I want to share something today that really is important for all of us to keep in mind. And that is something called the heart of the story. Can everybody see this? Look at this. Apple. Now, obviously this is an apple, but it's a metaphor. And it's a metaphor for a heart. It's kind of the similar shape of a heart. And when I think about my story and why I wrote it, and why my story needed to be told, that's when I think about what the heart of the story is. All right? That, to me, is the heart of the story. So the heart of my story is, why did I write it, and why does it need to be told? But more importantly, what is my main character, Ted, going to do in the story that's going to make a difference in the reader's life? So, when I look at this part right here, can everybody sit up straight? Look up. Eyes up. Here we go. I'm going to reread this. See if you can ask yourself this question as I read this again. Why does Mr. Joe think that this is so important? Why does he think that this is the heart of the story? The heart of the story. Why? Ted, I want you to know that some of the most amazing people in history have had bipolar disorder. Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, Robin Williams, Catherine Zeta-Jones. The list goes on and on. Listen carefully. When you think about BPD as a gift and not as a problem, you realize that your experience is something to be shared. Your story can give hope to other kids who have bipolar disorder, especially kids who are feeling stranded, isolated. You can throw them a lifeline just by telling them a story. Turn and face your partner, knee and eye to eye. In 3 or less. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds. Why do you think that I just reread is the heart of the story, the part of the story that just needed to be told? Do me a favor. All right. Ready? I'll give you about 15 seconds. Will you make a team of 3?
Yeah.
Go, Will. Make a team of 3. 15 seconds, go. Okay, if you could please bring your conversations to a close. As I was, please turn and look at me now, face me. Thank you. What was interesting as I listened to a conversation is people said, whatever you have going on, when you share it with somebody, it can make them think about it in a different way, basically, is what I heard people saying. It's fascinating, because that's exactly why this is the heart of the story. Raise your hand if you know people who have something going on and all they do is complain about it. They're like, oh, my life is so horrible. Oh, my gosh. Why me? I have like the worst life and the worst parents and the worst everything. Now, raise your hand if you know people who say, you know, I'm pretty fortunate. I've got a lot, maybe I've got stuff going on in my life, but I've got a lot of good things too. Hands down. So if you keep in mind that no matter what you have going on in your life, if you can see that there's actually a gift in it, then that can make a difference by helping someone else who might not realize that yet. And that's why this is the heart of my story. What I want you guys to think about today, what I need you guys to do, is I need you guys right now to think about your story. I want you guys to think about your realistic fiction social action story. Now, I want you to ask yourself, why did I pick this story? Why am I writing this one? What is my character going to do that's going to make a difference in society or in someone else's life? How is my character going to help? That's the heart of your story. Just like this is the heart of mine. But yours is obviously different because you're not writing a story about bipolar disorder, whatever your story is about. Turn and face your partner knee to knee and eye to eye again, please. Now, this is what I need you to do. I am going to ask the following individuals to please share the heart of their story, but don't just say it. I need you to story tell it. Because if I could have your eyes over here for a moment, remember, good realistic fiction social action stories, take a look up here at this chart. Good realistic fiction social action stories, RFSH stories. See all these things? Story tell, don't summarize. So I want you to tell it like a storyteller would. Tell it like a storyteller would. Don't just summarize it. Okay? So the following people are the people that I need to actually do that. They are the following let's begin with Bridget, Clayton, Kylie, Audrey, Grace, Leo, Ryan, Joe, Kyle, and let's see, Helen. I'm going to give you guys a minute. Ready? Tell it like a storyteller with the heart of your story. See, if I didn't say your name, you're my listeners. Ready? Go. Start.
What's your heart of the story?
I'll just do this how I
Fifth grade writers, please find a comfortable stopping place. Thank you. Turn and face me now. As I walked around, I heard 3 different people telling the heart of their story. It was amazing, and they all had to do with kids making a difference, kids helping each other, kids sharing something about themselves in the story that was kind of private, that maybe they never shared before. It was kind of sensitive. But they did that because they knew that they were helping other people. So when you write realistic fiction that has social action, your social action that helps others, then you're taking a bit of a risk. But on the Jobbers team, we are risk takers. We're used to taking risks, and it comes out in our writing. And it certainly comes out in the heart of the story more than any other place. So, can I have eyes up? Look at me. Sit up straight, look up. Today and every day, 5th grade writers, today and every day. Keep in mind why you're writing the story you're writing. That's the heart of your story. Why are you writing it? Why does it make a difference? That's what really matters. Tell it like a storyteller. Write it like a story. So that's your focus for today as well. And I'm going to come around in conference with 5 of my friends. So what I need you guys to do is please, without talking, all stand in for your last 3, 2, 1. Are you?
Because
Because what?
I don't read that much.
Okay. When I read your blog post, what was amazing to me was the level of action. It's chock-full of action. I mean, as a reader, I'm like, this is so dramatic. Especially, obviously, the part about the balloon going through the window and the water balloon splattering all over, like, see, where it says,
It's right.
Well, it's in the previous post.
Yeah, it's in.
And see, one thing you can do is, just to avoid this, is copy the entire story each time you put it on your blog, and that way it's always in one spot.
Okay.
But the point is that it's, you know, Mom and Rose are sitting there, and then this balloon comes crashing through. So the action is just very powerful. It's amazing because it grabs my attention immediately. So here's what I need to know is this. I want you to pick just 2 to 3 scenes for your story. And when I say a scene, I'm talking about...
Like a place where
Yeah,
things fit.
absolutely. Exactly. The most important ones. So like maybe at home, and then somewhere in the community, and then, yeah, and school or
or maybe a later time. So it's one place and time to be your scene. Because if you can pick just 2 to 3, that way you can narrow your writing down.
Should I
You
make
want
entirely like it's gonna be the same story? Should I
yeah, exactly. Just keep writing. That's just from The Office. Don't worry about it.
like should I just like make a whole thing like social action fiction story different or something?
Well, you can decide like if you want to get rid of something altogether so that you can write more about what's happening at home. Because if you move,
I might just keep everything the same, but like make a whole like it's the exact same thing, but like a whole different story sort of. But not it's the same story.
that's what you were talking about earlier, right? Which you I think would be a great idea because have you identified the heart of your story? I would say is this the heart of your story?
Well, like the heart of the story is like standing up to everybody and not
Right. Okay. So then this is the problem, and it doesn't seem like you've gotten to the heart yet.
well I actually look at the heart like right here beginning.
Right. Okay. Well, you decide where you want the heart of the story to occur. Usually, people put it more toward the second half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a heart.
Correct. Correct. You see? So today and every day as a writer, make sure you keep your fiction, this is short fiction, so keep it 2 to 3 scenes, and then that will really make it even
So I'm probably just gonna start like a story.
or you can copy, you can do that, or you can copy and paste some pieces that you still want to keep. All right?
Or I might just like look at the pieces and maybe change them a little bit.
Because you guys can see me during academic
You
lab.
can do that too. Okay? All right, thanks. Are you looking at some action? Can you give me an example of that?
Maybe at the beginning, I think at the beginning, we need to make it talk as well. There are a lot of people that have high pants. But not very much. I'm probably going to answer it.
You know, one of the things that I noticed that was a bit of a shift from last week in the piece is that your main character really has a lot of meaningful thoughts. I mean, and this was present last week too, but it just occurred to me, if you scroll up a little bit, yeah, scroll down a little bit, listen to this part. It just happened to be my worst subject, PE. I don't know why we can't just learn about it, but we have to actually play the sport just to find out what happens. I keep asking my PE teacher, what if I have asthma? It never works. This is a beautiful example of the use of thoughts, because as a reader, I can tell what the character's thinking, and it totally pulls you into the story, which is exactly what you should be doing as a writer. Does that make sense to you? All right. So definitely keep that up. Keep that up. One thing that I was thinking about is, why do you make sure your storytelling, because I found that there's pieces of the story where you're just summarizing. So instead of summarizing and saying, I want to use the tag, is when you write action, dialogue, description all the way throughout, then you're not just summarizing. No, you're actually storytelling. Because like this is a perfect example of thoughts, action, dialogue, description. All right in here. But scroll down. But then there's a part. But like this. Now today we were doing badminton, the racket sport, one of the worst kinds. So again, I tried my hardest, but Mr. Hard wouldn't accept it. So like this is just a little too summarizing, if you will. Here's my question. What do you think is the heart of your story?
I'm going to get to it later in the story, so I'm not there yet.
Okay. So is it, have you thought about what it is?
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of like he was using some of his skills that I talked to him about bullying or something, instead of bipolar disorder for years.
I see.
And then he's going to do some kind of presentation somewhere. I'm not really sure yet.
Well, today and every day, remember, keep the heart in mind and write with the heart in mind. Because if you write with the heart in mind, it will keep your focus tight. Good? Awesome. Keep it up. Good job.